What's up guys, I'm Curtis and welcome to 5-Minute Finance, where I take personal finance topics and explain them to you in 5 minutes or less. Let's get started. For my first video here on YouTube, I wanted to discuss the idea of how I believe anybody can become wealthy. And I know the idea of wealth kind of varies person to person, but a number a lot of people throw out all the time is $1 million, considering yourself a millionaire. I firmly believe that anybody out there watching this video can become wealthy. And the younger you are, it's exponentially easier to hit that $1 million mark or really whatever number you're targeting. To paint a picture of how easy it can be to reach, that $1 million net worth, I wanted to give you guys a few examples for different age groups. Now we do need to start with a couple assumptions. The first assumption is going to be that you currently have zero saved up for retirement whatsoever. Assumption number 2 is that you plan on retiring at age 62. I chose that age just because that's the earliest that you can begin collecting Social Security. The third assumption is going to be that the younger you are, you can expect to get better returns just because when you're younger, you kind of have a higher risk tolerance with your investments. So just for these numbers, I'm assuming if you're between 20 and 29, you can expect around a 9% rate of return annually, 30 to 39, about 8%, 40 to 49, about a 7% rate of return, and 50 plus, about a 6% rate of return. Now, again, these numbers are kind of just guidelines. It really depends on where you have your money, what it's invested in, how risky it is, how safe you want to be. But these are the numbers I'm going to be using for the example I'm about to show you. So let's get into the numbers a little bit. If you're starting at 20 years old, currently have no savings for retirement whatsoever, and you want to hit $1 million by the time you reach 62, if you're retiring at that age, then you would need to save just under $200 a month, assuming you get a 9% annual rate of return on your money. Moving on, at 25 years old, still assuming around a 9% rate of return, you would need to save about $310 per month. So as you can see, that's already 50% more than the 20-year-old. So just waiting 5 years makes a huge difference. Next, a 30-year-old, we're assuming about an 8% rate of return. You're going to need just about $600 a month invested from 30 until 62 to reach that $1 million mark. At 35, still assuming 8%, it'd be about $920 per month. At ages 40 and 45, we're assuming about a 7% rate of return. And so you need to be saving about $1,650 and about $2,620 respectively at 40 and 45 years old if you want to retire a millionaire. And finally, if you hit age 50, it is getting up pretty late in the game, and you might not want to be as risky with your investments, so I assumed a 6% rate of return. You'd need about $4,500, a little more, just to reach that $1 million by the time you retire. Now that we have those numbers, let's take it a step further. Many people would say that you should save around 15% of your income to retirement. I personally think you should save a little more if possible, but we're just going to assume 15%. So now let's take a look at the salary required at each age if you were investing 15% of your income and you wanted to be a millionaire by the time you hit 62 years old. So as we mentioned, a 20-year-old would need to save around $200 a month from age 20 until age 62 if they wanted to retire a millionaire. Guys, that's less than $16,000 a year. That's less than minimum wage. So any 20-year-old out there saying that they can't retire with $1 million is honestly just lying to themselves. If they made minimum wage their entire life and invested 15%, they'd retire with over $1 million. As we move up in age, a 25-year-old would need to be making around $25,000 per year, assuming they're still saving 15% of their income. A 30-year-old would be looking at about a $48,000 salary for a 15% of their income toward retirement to equal $1 million when they retire. A 35-year-old starting from nothing would be looking at around a $75,000 salary from 35 until 62, saving 15% of their income. And now I think is where you guys are going to start to see that the earlier you save, the easier it gets, because by the time you're 45, if you're saving 15% of your income, you need to be making around $131,000 just to hit $1 million when you retire. And it doesn't really get much better from there. At 45, if you're only saving 15% of your income, you're looking at about needing a $210,000 salary. And by age 50, you need over $350,000 salary, assuming you're going to save 15% of your income. Something I also wanted to point out is that each of those ages, that salary would get you to $1 million, assuming you never got a raise, you didn't get any company match in your 401k, you never increased your savings rate at all. So for the example of a 30-year-old, need to be making around $48,000. Guys, by the time they're 62, they're going to be making more than that. And ideally, they'll also have increased their savings rate and will be getting an employer match into their 401k. So as you can see, the earlier you invest, it's much easier to hit, whether it's $1 million to whatever your goal is. The earlier you start, the more likely you are to actually hit that goal. So I encourage everybody to save for retirement, no matter what their age is. And as always, the earlier the better. With that, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new around here, which I know you are because this is my first video, feel free to subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this in the future.